What could be the possible relationship among mental health, poverty, and prosperity? I mean, in terms of economics. Like, for example, those people who are living in poor situations or in economic downtrodden conditions, probably they are having more mental health issues as a result of economic, what should I say, poor status, or the other way. How do you look at it?
Probably the most specific answer that I could give is to refer to somebody. There's a professor, her name is Tanya Lerman.
Okay. Professor of anthropology?
She's also professor of anthropology, works on culture, mental health, and psychiatry in the U.S. mainly.
Right.
And she wrote a very good review article in a journal called the Wilson Quarterly this last fall.
Okay.
And she reviews the current evidence about the biological and cultural factors in shaping mental illness, and I think her review in that journal is very good. And she reviews some of the recent studies showing the association between poverty and mental illness. She also mentions an interesting study that took place in London, where they were trying to study race and diagnosis of psychopathology, but trying to eliminate the racism being a bias in the studies. And what this researcher found was among the Afro-Caribbeans, black people of Afro origin living in London, that the whiter the neighborhood around them got with gentrification, the more schizophrenia they saw. Like, in other words, perceiving yourself as different, and at odds with the people around you, made you at more risk for this illness. And I imagine, I don't know, I'm guessing, traumatic life events or the adversities. Trauma is a clear factor in schizophrenia.
It's very true.
I mean, the onset, even if there's a biological factor, seems to correspond to a traumatic event in the person's life. It's not just a random time. It's, often a parent has died or some horrible thing has happened. And I think if you live in poverty, you're more likely to encounter these events, more frequently. I think that may be what's happening.
So, what do you think about globalization and mental health? For example, do you think globalization has got, because probably we discussed the topic in the Lyon conference also, globalization, mental health.
Right.
And let's revisit this particular question again. And what would be the impact of globalization, I mean the globalized economical philosophy and its practices on global mental health?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're referring to this conference that we went to in France. They convened 2 years ago. People from around the world, mental health specialists, to look at globalization and psychopathology. I mean, I think there are certain things like increased migration. The movement of people that can be disrupting and can be adverse to mental health. There's also the globalization of mental health regimes and mental health interventions.
That's right.
Which can be good, but can also be problematic. That relates to my current research in Kerala, where I think preserving a diversity of interventions actually might be the best way to go.
So probably you won't think that globalization would give more positive factors to mental health, or probably it's more negative, or would they say it's a mixed signal, both green and red as well?
I think it's a mixed thing. Yeah, I think it's a mixed thing. I think that there are some clear negative dangers, like the displacement of people and increased migration due to often economic adversities. One of the reasons can be, I think that about the Gulf migrants from Kerala. That can be very stressful, and the family having to be separated. And I think globalization factors can lead to that. It can also lead to opportunity and escape from problems at home, I think, as well. So I think it has both potentialialities. I don't want to make a prediction about the total effect of globalization.
From this, in fact, I would like to come to you at the present study that you would like to do in Kerala. For example, we have an international pilot study of schizophrenia, and by and large, the study definitely have shown certain trends. For example, when you make a comparison between the schizophrenia outcome between in developed countries and developing countries, by and large, I think in developing countries the outcome is better, and even among the developing countries, India perhaps is the best.
Yes,
that's one side of the story. And critically, if you look at the other side of the story, if you're going by the standards of health delivery care system, whatever is available, treatment systems and protocols of treatment, I'm sure that developed country like US has got better, practices to be delivered to the public. I mean, those who are having the stakeholders mental health issues than a developing country like India. If that is the situation, why is this paradox?
Well, it is an intriguing paradox. I would say that to first of all answer the second question, I don't think the U.S. has better health care facilities, and I'll explain why that is. But yeah, regarding the first issue, yeah.
Because if at all you look at any Indian books, which are prescribed for psychiatry or psychology, we always get books from the U.S. We don't have Indian books mostly.
That's true, exactly, where the DSM is created. Exactly.
DSM and comprehensive textbook of psychiatry, that's supposed to be looked at as a Bible of psychiatry in India.
Yeah.
So for any practical purposes, in fact, there is a tendency for Indian students and professors to procure books from US and read and understand and to practice.
Well, there are very good researchers and very good publishers in the U.S., of course, and that they're actually from all over the world. The people of Indian origin in the U.S. and doing psychiatric research. And I would say, well, I'll back up a little bit to the original IPSS. I mean, I think, and this relates to my current work for a few months in Kerala, the most intriguing finding in epidemiology and mental health is the finding by the World Health Organization, which they've reaffirmed since the 1960s through multiple follow-up studies. The most recent one is 2007 with the same cohort of people. They have found consistently that people in the developing country centers did better. They recovered more from schizophrenia and serious mental illness. Yeah, better outcome than the developed countries. And of all the places studied by the WHO, India has had the most success. And so basically that means that India has the most success in the world at treating serious mental illness. And what I want to learn during my study here in Kerala is why is India doing so well? And so it's rather, I think often, as we mentioned earlier, the assumption is that the U.S. has some superior product that we must all adapt to and start to use, but I think India is doing something well and we need to learn from it. Other people have studied this issue, and there are many theories that the family is often suspected as a major aid.